So to finish day one, I completely blocked in all of the arms, as you can see here. I blocked in the red of her hair and some of the red of the sides. It's not necessary at this point to know exactly what these shapes represent. You're just looking at your image and you're trying to put the shapes and the colors in the painting that are as accurate as what you can see in your final picture. The mountains in the background, or the streams or trails or houses or flowers or whatever you might have, you can fix that and make that more detailed later on. So today what we're going to do is begin the second day of the painting, and the second day and the third day are very much the same, and that's going to be taking your painting that you've made from day one, which was the blocking in, and you're going to be slowly going through a process of correcting. So to do this, you need to have your image, your color photo of what your painting is, and you're going to just simply work around the whole picture. Usually starting from the top is the safest way to do it, and from the top down, or from the background to the foreground, you're going to start to fix different areas to sharpen it up, darken it up, lighten it up. Just make corrections so that it's closer to the finished product that you want. So I'll show you, if this is the Mona Lisa that I want to have, some things that I noticed right off, and I'm sure you do too. The hair is much darker. The background is darker, and also parts of the mountain look different in the final draft. There are some sharper areas here, pointed peaks. Here it's just sort of one kind of light blue blob, or kind of rounded off messy shape up here, and that's okay. There are also some lines here, some highlights, some really dark areas. Her skin is starting to have more of a skin tone to it, and it's not just this white shade. So we're going to make some changes to this painting on the right to get it closer to the painting on the left. For day two, no matter what your painting is, your goal is not to go from this on the right to your finished product on the left. It's to just make steps to get there. It's to make a number of corrections and change some of the colors, change some of the shapes, so that you're inching your way towards the final painting. You do not want to rush. You want to take your time and work cleanly and work smartly, just like we did yesterday. So I'm going to start at the top of the painting again, and I'm going to start with the background. And what I want to do here is I'm going to clean up some of the areas around the mountains and make the mountains have, well, more of a shape to the mountains themselves. So I'm going to mix some color here on my canvas, and I can paint around the mountains and start to just subtract and add to the background. And I can also think about how I want the shape of her hair and her head to be, and I can start to clean up the edges a little bit. By putting on the second layer, I'm also making the color in the painting more vibrant, and it will make the painting more attractive. I'm shaping those mountains in the background just a little bit more to make them look more like mountains. The top of the painting on the left is much darker, and I do want to start to just darken the top up a bit on mine, so that by day three I can start to have a much closer looking background. I'm still kind of part blocking in today, part blocking in, part trying to become a little more detailed. But day two is very much still a process of blocking in. but with a little bit of detail in mind. I'm not too concerned about color. Notice how the vinyl on the left is far more gray. Mine is a blue top background, but I'm just beginning to get there. Okay, I'll clean my brush. I'm going to now work on these mountains here. They're much darker in the finished painting, so I am going to try to darken that up. Also notice how this mountain, and that's a little bit closer to us, is much darker. So I'm not going to worry about the darkest parts of this painting yet. I'm going to just start with some of the lighter areas, and then I'll touch up the darker ones later. So let's just start here. I'm mixing some color. Still okay to have a little messy painting at times. You're just still blocking in again. But now I'm working on what's called value, trying to make my value accurate. Now this value is much closer to this value, whereas before it was much lighter. So I'm darkening the area that needs to get more dark, and that's making the value dark. The lighter something is, it has a lighter value. So that looks pretty accurate. So this is pretty close to this, whereas before it was much lighter. Now I'm going to look around and see what I can do in the painting. I'm going to darken this area here. It's always good to step back and just look and study the painting. I think what I'll do is start this dark area, and to create a really dark color, blue is needed and this red. So you just put blue and just put red, that's how you're going to get your darkest color. It will be a little purple. If you want it to be more of a gray color or have more brown in it, then that's when you can put a little bit of your yellow, and that'll brown it up a bit and make it look less purple. So I'm going to actually add quite a bit of that. And if it gets really dry on your canvas, or I'm sorry, on your palette, you make sure you get that medium in there. So this is going to be my dark color that I will use. And I'm going to paint that in here. And I want this mountain to pop out and stand out and be much darker than the one in the background behind it. But I also want it to be accurate to what my example is. So constantly look at your picture and look at your painting and take your time. Try to get those values correct. All right. So I noticed that her hair is almost the same dark as this land behind it. So I'm just going to paint that on. I'm just going to do that now since I have that color ready. And it's not the right color, but it's about the right value. It's a dark color. And value is as important as color, as important as shape. You want darkness and lightness to be approximately the same as your example or the picture you're trying to copy from. So I blocked that hair in. I'm going to go ahead and block in her dress. Her dress is a little more blue, so I just added a little bit of blue to what I had on my palette. And block that in. Now I notice this blue is really dark. I'm probably not going to be able to create that dark of a color today. So because I know I'm doing this in steps, I'm just worrying about inching my way there slowly, just adding to the painting, adding another layer of dark. Stepping back, looking at everything. What I'm going to do next is clean my brush with water, because it's good to do that a few times in the whole process. But I'm going to clean my palette, maybe taking just a piece of paper and wiping it off, get it nice and clean. And I'm going to now start to color in her face a little bit more. In the day one portion, I just blocked it in all white. And that was just to get a first layer of paint down and to create a light value. Today, I'm going to try to give it this skin color. Now, her skin has a yellowish tint to it because that's just the paints that they had at the time to use. I'll show you how to do that. So you want to start with making just a little bit of medium here in your palette. Start with making skin color. Just get a white down just like this. This looks like a pretty thick white, and that's good. I'm going to take a little bit of yellow, maybe a little more, and just a little itty bitty little red. That's probably even too much. I mean, you're talking just a little bit. The people tend to put way too much pigment in their paint when they're making it, and it's a white with a little bit of yellow and a little bit of red, and that's going to be skin color. I'm just gonna go over this. What I did yesterday, go over the area. Now I noticed that it's still not yellow enough, so I'm gonna add a little more. That's about right. And it's just day two. I'm not too worried about exact skin color. What I want to do also is start to use this paint that I'm using on her face to create a shape of her face. So I'm going to just be careful here and try to take a little bit of that hair color and paint over it so I can create a nicer round face for this person, this Mona Lisa. Okay. I'll scoot over here so you can see both. Since I have that skin color already going, I'm going to add it to her hands. I'm pretty sure I will correct the color of her skin a little bit, but that can happen later on. I'm not too worried about it. These first few stages, or first few steps, day 1 and day 2, it's just blocking in, and now day 2 we're just blocking in, but with a little bit more focus on detail. I am going to shade in this area of her sleeve and start to change the color of her blouse, or the front part of her shirt. In the finished version, it's a little blue, maybe a little violet, and here it's just kind of this baby blue color. So I'd like to just get that corrected and fix that a bit. So here I'm going to start with a little bit of white to have a nice white color, and it looks to be just a little red here. So I'm just going to create a little red and block that in. I created that color just there, this one right here, with just probably about 85-90% white with a little bit, 10% red, just a dab of red. I think that can be a little more red. Good. So I am going to make that purple color in here. That's far too red, so I notice how I tested that color on the canvas, and you can do that. Now, I used an area that's probably too large, but you can test a color just by brushing it on there, seeing if that's what you want. You can always fix it and clean it and wipe it off or brush over it. That's one of the really great things about oil paint or tempera paint, which is what we're doing. I'm just going to block this in because I think today I'm just going to worry about fixing that color and that value. Tomorrow will have to be the fixing all the lines and getting all the shadows and highlights there. I'm going to go ahead and block this in here because I want to make this more accurate. Get that color too. I'm going to go ahead and finish the video today by saying that day 2, in my opinion, I still need to do a few more things, but the main idea is there. You're taking your blocking in that you did here for day 1, and you're making corrections to color, which I've started to do here in the top of the painting, to the value, which is the light and dark. I changed the mountains to look more like the mountains here, give it a little darker color. And you're also trimming around the edges of those shapes. You're either making them larger or smaller or more detailed. I did that with the face here inside, just so that you're starting to draw in areas that are going to be more detailed. So I'm going to make a few more changes to this, but day 2 is all but concluded for me video-wise. We will look at day 3 what the finished painting here will look like, and then we will do one more detail day before we give the finishing touches. All right, thank you very much.